Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And tonight we'll be looking at a topic beyond the interview, the role of HR mentorship in providing feedback to unsuccessful candidates in Nigeria. Our facilitator tonight is not a first timer on this platform. At least, if my memory serves me right, she has facilitated graciously for us like 2 or 3 times. Her name is Sadatu Farouk, and she's the head learning and career development with Securities and Exchange Commission Abuja. However, for the benefit of some of us who may just be getting acquainted with her for the first time today, I would just like to read a brief profile. Ladies and gentlemen, Sadatu is a distinguished leader in development finance and human capital development. She has over 2 decades of experience in Nigeria's capital market. She currently serves as the head of learning and career development at the Security and Exchange Commission, where she champions talent development, mentorship, institutional capacity building to promote professional excellence and organizational effectiveness. She is a chartered commodity and stockbroker. Sadatu brings a wealth of experience in capital market operations, corporate governance, strategic leadership. Our professional journey has been defined by a passion for nurturing people and organizations, evidenced by success in developing organizational strategies, mentoring high potential talents, and fostering productive relationships with stakeholders across diverse sectors. She's currently pursuing a PhD in development finance at Nasarawa State University, Kefi. Sadatu's academic focus intersects with her professional passion for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Our research interests include human capital development, trade policy, and agricultural finance, with a keen interest in how mentorship can shape long-term career resilience and workforce transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, in her current role, she has led impactful learning initiatives, mentorship programs designed to provide constructive feedback to unsuccessful candidates after job interviews. In other words, what she's about to teach us are insights from what she has done, practically. She also advocates for a shift in HR culture that goes just beyond the interview towards a mentorship-driven approach. Ladies and gentlemen, she believes organization can build a more empowered, self-aware, and opportunity-ready talent pool. Anytime we reach out to her, she always responds to us at her earliest convenience based on her love and passion for mentorship and continuous development. Speaking to us tonight on the topic, beyond the interview, the role of HR mentorship in providing unsuccessful candidates. Let's welcome Sadatu. You have the floor, madam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adeosun. Good evening, everyone, professional colleagues on the call, friends and families. I actually shared the link with some friends and my family members as well. So good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. I'm sure people will wonder why this topic. It's become a topical issue because over time, you hear the feedback that we went for this interview, whether we passed or we didn't pass, or we passed, we were not communicated, or we even passed, we didn't pass, and we don't know why we did not pass. So we just thought that it's important that we bring it to the attention of the HR professionals and mentors as well. That it's not that we are not aware of it. I know some organizations do it, but it's something that we can continuously remind ourselves that it's important to have this feedback to unsuccessful candidates. I think they are even the most anxious, not the successful ones. So it is on that note that we came up with this topic beyond the interview, the role of HR mentorship in providing feedback to unsuccessful candidates. So I'll take it from here. We have structured the sorry, I'm wondering why it's not moving. Okay. So it is on that note that we put this paper together, and we are looking at the importance of the feedback in the recruitment process, the role of the mentorship in providing feedback, which is the crux of this learning, the best practices for providing feedback, and the potential benefits of this feedback to the service delivery of recruitment. Then efficient and personalized feedback delivery at scale, assuming that we have quite a lot of people to get back to what do we do or what are we supposed to do. I put a few stories there, and what are we supposed to do to make the experience better for new recruits. So by way of introduction, we know how dynamic our market, recruitment and employment market is in Nigeria. And it's not all about filling vacancies. It serves as a reflection of what our values and culture stand for. While some people focus on selecting the right candidates, the experience of those who are not even chosen matters greatly. And this is what we want to see, that it doesn't go unaddressed. And that is why we're taking this session this evening. It's very important that we build good brand names and goodwill for our companies, and great experience for even those who didn't make it. We all went through a process of looking for job. Where some of us are still even looking for job, maybe looking for better ones, maybe looking for recognition, more satisfaction, or even political appointments. Where you are not successful, it is important to know what you didn't do right, to have lost the opportunity. So why is it important to have this feedback? And we said we have importance for the candidates, we have for the employer, we have for even the organization itself. And the importance of this feedback in recruitment is built on the fact that candidates who want to have great experience, and they want to have this constructive feedback to enable them know where to navigate to be successful in their next endeavor. I know a couple of organizations around do it. I heard Shell does it, Access Bank does, because my daughter had an experience, and they wrote her back to say, oh, for XYZ, you did not get this opportunity. What did they say to her? She attended the American University of Nigeria, and they have a scaling system, not over 5, but over 4. So for their own 2-1, it is 3.5. For their first class is 3.5. For their 2-1 is about 3.4 something. So when they saw 3.4 and she said, oh, they saw 3.5, she said she made the first class. And they were like, it was inconsistent with the Nigerian system. We tried to explain, but unfortunately she lost that opportunity. But thankfully, she's gainfully employed now. But I just decided to just share that story that Access Bank does it. And I know a few other organizations, not very sure of the public sector, if we do it. Something similar happened in FIRS when they advertised for a recruitment, and they wrote back again to say the information submitted was inconsistent. That was to one of my niece. So it is important that we imbibe that culture. It will go a long way to help both the candidates and the employer as well. For the employer, it will give you a good brand and goodwill, and help people to trust you as well, to say, oh, you are able to reach us back to tell us that we didn't do it well, or we didn't get this opportunity for XYZ reasons. Sometimes people begin to wonder, if you say, bring the CV and you call for advertisements, it's usually overwhelming. But again, there are things you can do to also pacify the people you didn't invite, or the people you invited and did not make it. We'll see that as we go on. So for the candidates, when you're able to give that feedback, what it helps them to do is to help them build more confidence and face the situation again and see that they can do even better. And you give them that boost their self-esteem to know that they are not failures. In terms of for the employer brand, I just mentioned Access Bank now, and I mentioned that FIRS did something similar in the past. So it helps to give that branding to organizations or the employer that are calling for new recruits. So what does it help them to do? It helps them to build the right skills. helps the system to put mentorship programs in place and help the organization to sort of reboot, to know that they are more focused on their recruitment process in terms of those who didn't make it, getting the right feedback and at the right time. Okay. So we say, what is our role as mentors in giving this feedback? The HR person can link the rejected candidates with mentors for personalized feedback and support. So we're still talking about mentorship. And it provides training. It's like a training ground for the HR teams as well, so that when they are trained properly for giving feedback through methods like active listening and sandwich technique, as is done in MTN. It is because of this research that I got to know that that is done in MTN as well. It helps the HR teams to be properly trained and more focused on their training, on their recruitment techniques. Part of it is the feedback they give to unsuccessful candidates. It also helps the organization when they are able to imbibe the feedback culture. It helps them to have open communication and learning system in place, encouraging feedback, and as is embraced by Dangote group as well. So it helps, the role is for mentorship, it's for training, and for reinforcing our culture through feedback mechanisms. Okay. Okay. What's the best practice in terms of giving this feedback? We talk of timeliness, the specificity, the actionable insights, the follow-up support. And when we're talking about timeliness, what it implies to us is that candidates are giving prompt feedback after their interviews. It's not something we leave for it to drag on and we lose the steam or lose track of what we're supposed to let them focus on even going forward. Even for your own organization, they could come back some other day to say, okay, these people that got back to us, we have confidence in them that when we try again, we could do better based on the feedback that was given to us. So this is very important, and we are hoping that where many candidates apply to multiple positions simultaneously, the timeliness of giving this feedback also is very important. Like it happened in NMPC recently. We heard over 40-something thousand people applied for a job role space of only 1,000 persons. At the end of the day, when candidates didn't make it, a lot of them are still in the dark. They don't even know whether the reason why they didn't make it. Only the successful candidates were contacted. I'm sorry I have to call this organization's name because I want us to see how it works within the private and the public sector, so we can have a shift in our mindset around how we are able to handle this aspect of recruitment. It is also important that we give general feedback. If we give only general feedback and you're not specific, it could be helpful, but in most cases, not very helpful. But if you're specific, it guides the candidates on what to do going forward. And the mentors are able to provide specific examples from the interview, like maybe it's your composure, your communication ability, your confidence, even the dressing, your outlook. So you begin to now align with your strengths and your weaknesses and be able to work on where the weaknesses are and even reinforce your strengths to help in your future, help the candidates in the future endeavor. Actionable insights. Feedback should also include clear, actionable recommendations that candidates can implement. For instance, advising the candidate to improve their knowledge of the industry. I had an encounter, this wasn't even on a big scale, but I was on an interview panel where someone came into my organization and we asked, what is even the organization? What does the acronym of the organization stand for? And the person was like, security. And I said, no, securities. So, okay, securities. And she was stuck again. What next? She didn't know. So we always encourage them, start from the website of where you have interest on, look at their business model, look at their vision, their mission statement, try to see what their core values are pointing at. and that will help to build the industry knowledge. So those very specific actionable insights, when provided to candidates who are not successful, can also be very helpful. There's follow-up support sessions can also help candidates process feedback, especially where those who apply or those who are unsuccessful are not as many. It's something that can be done, for them, just to help strengthen the relationship between the organization and the candidates, and also helps them to build trust for the companies they probably applied to. So there's an example of First Bank. They actually conduct post-interview follow-up to ensure that candidates feel supported. Okay, so practically speaking, what is the role of this mentorship in the delivery to both candidates, the organization, and the HR practitioners? So for the candidates, they get valuable insights that can shape their future job searches, help them with their professional growth, and also help to improve their confidence and performance in subsequent interviews, either where they applied before or wherever they will take on in life again. For the organization, it helps enhances the organization's reputation, like I said, and it can foster loyalty of candidates. It can also create pipeline of talent where people are not successful, maybe for one thing or the other, not because of the knowledge per se. They sort of bank these unsuccessful candidates in their data bank, and where there are openings, they go back there to call up the ones that are good but probably didn't make it through in the first instance. And this can lead to more engaged workforce and lower the turnover rates, helps retention as well. For the HR practitioners in the organization, it helps them to enhance their own coaching skills, makes them more valuable to the organization, and open doors of career advancement. And again, it could even speak for you where outside the organization, put some level of reputation on you. People can headhunt you, can give you greater opportunities if they know that you belong to an organization where this kind of mentorship is being provided. So where there are multitude, like I said at the beginning, several people apply, you have over 40,000 people, like it happened in custom, looking for maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or even 5,000 space. It becomes almost impossible for you to pass through the eye of the needle. So what are you supposed to do where those people who are either unsuccessful or were not even invited but applied can get a feedback? What can you do? You can do it through structured email templates, where you develop standardized email templates that will include key sections like their strengths, their areas of improvements, and future suggestions that you may be able to make. You can personalize them with specific examples from the interview to give them the feedback that are quite meaningful, that will be very helpful to them to ensure that they get support in terms of their further endeavors in life. There could also be automated feedback systems where technology is used. Even in the first instance, the structured feedback templates are usually automated as well. But we're now focusing on automating it for the purpose of giving part of the feedback process. Some applicants will track their own performance, and that will allow you to send them personalized feedback messages based on predefined criteria. Bulk SMS can also be helpful in this instance, back to the people who applied for you and probably were unsuccessful. That again can give them some sort of comfort and pacify them to believe that they can do better in future. So I gave a story, I gave 3 different scenarios. There's this Alex, and who was working in a place like Lagos or even Kano, and he wanted to land this his dream job that he applied to a blue chip company. He got the interview invitation quite okay. He prepared very strongly. He researched on the company. He practiced a lot of questions and answers. Yeah, the day finally came. He was confident. He was walking into the interview room that he was going to get it. After a few days waiting anxiously, he received a rejection call. It was quite unbearable for him, but he didn't get the job because he didn't get the job. even though he didn't understand the reason why he did not get the job, because the mail came quite okay, but it was vague, so it was unhelpful. They just simply told him it was not the right fit, and they just left him in that darkness. So if there has to be that feedback, it should be constructive, it should be clear, and it also should be instructive. So this guy was there hanging in the air. They're not the right fit. Like what happened in some years back where they say, okay, right size the public sector. And they'll just nicely write you a letter to say, sorry, your service is no longer required. A couple of times you see people gather themselves into groups and take the organization to court because of the ambiguity of the communication in the letter. So even though we're encouraged to contact our unsuccessful candidates and with the right feedback, it is important that the feedback should be very clear, very concise, and very instructive. So Alex was determined, however, to help himself. So he sought advice from a mentor, in that industry. And the mentor said to him, help him to review the interview performance, and provided him with specific feedback on his answers, body language, comportment, composure, and the importance of telling story in interviews. So with this, Alex got a lot more informed, better prepared, and he could apply in future interviews. Months later, he was lucky, he applied again. He found his knowledge full of it, and with confidence, he was able to go for this interview this time with a company that shared his values. He got an offer and realized that the rejection he initially saw as a setback was actually his springboard to his first level. I shared a story sometimes back. I don't know how many people on the call that probably heard my story at the time. When I was growing up, I was never nice to receiving feedback. I never used to like feedback. I never used to want to hear failure. But as I grew up and I progressed in my career, I got to understand that even failure can spring you to a level you can never imagine. Because when you fail once, you will go back to do it better. There's an adage in my language. I'm from Kogi State, by the way. I'm Igala. That I'll tell you the literal meaning. That when you pack you arrange your firewood in the dish they carry on their head from farm. When you pause, for any reason you pause on your way back from the farm, by the time you are rearranging it, you do it better, which is what Alex did in this case. After getting his mentor to put him through, he was lucky, got another offer of invitation, and he did excellently well this time. So the experience of failure inspired him to become now a better advocate to say, provide meaningful feedback to candidates regardless of the outcome. So if you understand that every interview is an opportunity for you to learn and grow, not just for yourself and for people around you, friends, families, and colleagues, that your failure too can become an inspiration to other people because you speak from the point of view of your own experience. So that is the story of Alex. I would like to pause a little to hear from the audience if there are people who share similar story with Alex or with myself who never wanted feedback and who didn't want to fail. I'll be very glad to hear from any one of us in the audience. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If anyone would like to speak,
any
they need to raise their
volunteer?
hands, and then we grant them permission to speak on mute.
We're about 36 on this call. I'm sure we'll have one story, either ours or someone that we can share. It will only help us to widen the scope and widen our mind to know beyond the little that I know and have brought to bear this evening. Doctor, it doesn't seem that anyone is interested in doing this.
Maybe after the session, they are still shy.
But whatever we are even talking about is actually a thing that we all know if you are within the HR space. It happens. The moment we upload the unsuccessful candidates, we are very happy to say, oh, at least it's this volume out of the ones that I have to deal with, So, but again, it's is hurting someone somewhere. It's going to prevent someone somewhere. It could even break some people, you know. So it's important that we give ourselves this reminder, and that's why I thought to bring this story to us this evening. Anyway. Okay, so there's Emmanuel Emma, who is a very brilliant, ambitious graduate. She applied for her first job in a well-known tech company.
Hello, Ma. We have volunteers now.
Oh, you've gotten great.
Yes. Ugochukwu would like to speak, and Uncle K. Let's take Ugochukwu first, and then we'll take Uncle K.
Okay.
Ugochukwu,
good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Good evening, Mr. Ugochukwu.
My name is Ugochukwu Chedele. I am highly impressed with this unique topic being presented today. I would like to share my experience in the course of the jobs I've been applying. And one thing I come to realize is that what I've come to realize is that I usually see a general feedback that, like you said, is usually vague. Because I, for one, also is the kind of person that does not like failure, so to say, or being rejected. But what will have helped me is if the feedback gotten actually specified to tell me where I have failed or where I didn't do well. That will have helped, but I don't get. So it discourages me. So sometimes when I see jobs again from the same company, I hesitate in application. But I'm happy with your presentation, and I look forward to having advice on how to handle such when it comes. I'm not be discouraged. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ugochukwu. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Fantastic topic we have this evening.
Please unmute Uncle K. Thank you.
All right. As I said, fantastic topic we have tonight. It's something all of us we experience this. But then we have different ways of taking it. Recently, or not too recent, recent past, I applied for a job. I mean, moment I saw the ad, I felt like this is me, right? So when I applied, good, I just want to share the experience as you said we should do. You know, I was called off for interview. You know, when you do really well in the interview, you yourself, you will know that I think you killed this, you know. So I felt I killed it. And so I was waiting for response. I waited for so long, I felt like, should I prompt them? So after a month or 2 months, I actually sent a prompt, and they responded by saying that they are still putting a few things in-house together, and they'll get back to me. Okay, 3 months again, I didn't hear anything, and I felt like I actually killed it. So I sent another prompt, and then the feedback was, sorry, we regret to inform you that we've moved on with another candidate. And it was via an email, you know, those emails that will say no reply. And then it was vague, nothing. I can't even, you know, get any feedback from them. The email already told you no reply, so don't even reply it. And the content of the email wasn't really explicit. They didn't give you any feedback, you know, so that's been an experience I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it's we can all allude to the fact that this is a very common trend. And that is the mindset or culture shift that we want to encourage all of us as HR practitioners to take on and imbibe and shift that from that culture so that it will be helpful to our teaming youth who are looking for jobs here and there. Quite a number of them too. I mean, if we talk about unemployment, I like balancing it with the employability of the unemployed ones as well. But in the midst of that, you have quite a lot of them too that are very good. But unfortunately, when they don't get through with their interview process, they are unable to get the feedback that'll help them going forward. Doctor, do we have any other person's hand up, or we should just take
not for
Emma's
now.
story? Not for now. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Emma's story sounds like someone who I also encountered. So there's a young woman who lived with me, brilliant as well, very, very brilliant. We put her through some process when she had the interview. And she came back very excited with high hopes and all that, yeah, this time I've gotten it. Unfortunately, she didn't get it. She still didn't get it. And she started wondering. And I'm like, okay, do them a mail. Do them a mail to, first of all, appreciate them and let them know the displeasure, or in fact, the shock you got for not even getting the job. Put it very softly. Then let them know that you would be open to any feedback that will help you. She did. She was a bit reluctant. She said, Mommy, they are not going to reply. I said, please give it a try. And she did. They replied her that, yeah, technically, you were a little above average, but that her communication was poor. For the knowledge of the subject matter, she had good understanding, at least above average, but that she could not communicate effectively. Even from home, I knew she had issues with that because her English wasn't very polished. So that affected her greatly. And most of the time, what you are not very familiar with, you don't tend to be confident. So that confidence was not really there for her. Otherwise, she was properly dressed. She had the industry or the subject matter knowledge, but the communication skills wasn't there for her. So that took me to this story of Emma, who applied for her first job to a well-known tech company. After her interview process, she received a rejection mail. She was very sure of herself, and the mail, as usual, was brief, lacked details, left Emma more confused and discouraged, unsure of what the future was looking like to her. In fact, this makes me remember my own self. At the time I left university and I finished service, was the time Abacha officially embargoed employment. So the few people we could lay our hands on through connection, I will go again for interview, it will not come back. But that one later, we got to know that my connection was weak. But nobody ever even got in touch with me. At some point, I got worried that, is there something I'm doing that wasn't right? That was actually my own problem. But because I didn't get any feedback, I could not do much. But in my darkness, I started trying to, then internet wasn't common, started talking to people who were more senior to me. And I tell them honestly from my heart that I think I did this. And I get some feedback to say, don't even be overconfident. That sometimes, again, your own overconfidence can deprive you. So Emma reached out to the company because she was unsure. The mail to her was vague. She reached out to the HR team for a feedback. Surprisingly, the HR manager took time. They met with her. She was surprised because she was thinking they won't come back to her. They provided her with specific insights around her performance, highlighting her strengths and her areas that needed improvement. And they discussed this extensively with Emma around the skills she will require to overcome or improve her areas of weaknesses. And by the time she took the feedback, it helped her greatly. And at the end of the day, she took the feedback. She enrolled in other relevant courses that will help her build the right skills. She started practicing her interview. Good enough, this time, all of those things are available on the internet that can help you. And also connected with people who, professionals in her field. In those days, no internet, but I could talk to very senior people that gave me honest feedback, and those feedbacks, were very helpful. Later in the month, Emma applied again for another position in another different company and got this job this time. Part of what helped her was the constructive feedback she took, and she took it in good faith and acted accordingly. So this experience to give Emma the value of mentorship in hiring process. So it's this mentorship we're talking about here is not only for ourselves, we are all sharing our stories now. These stories can go very far that will help other people as well. So we'll make conscious effort to see how this aspect of HR role will be more amplified and enhanced to help our candidates, that will be looking for jobs here, and our students, graduates, and candidates that will be looking for jobs here and there. Even in appointments, sometimes you are rejected. They'll tell you go back and get this and get that to ensure that you pass through. They give you feedback to tell you these are the specific areas you have to look at. If there are things you had in the past, then go and straighten them out, because maybe your DSS report is not good, your profiling is not right, and that has been very helpful to candidates, both at entry level, professional level, and even political arena. All right. So what are we supposed to do as HR practitioners? I think I should bring down this slide and hear from the audience, from this small learning. What are those things that we need to further focus on that will be helpful to this process of recruitment? Dr. Adeosun, I'll be very happy to hear from you again, because I know you're quite experienced, and any other person that will feel comfortable to share with us.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity to share and contribute. Let me just say a few things generally, and I'll start from where you stopped. I like the fact that you also included that recruitment is not just external candidates only. There are also internal recruitments, maybe from one level to the other, or maybe there are internal vacancies. And typically you may have multiple candidates internally, for example, who are aspiring for a position and a putting. And as much as there's a transparent recruitment process, the criteria is clear, the shortlisting criteria is clear, especially internally. For those who are not shortlisted, they should know which part of the shortlisting criteria they fell short of, and if possible, what they can do to measure up given a period of time. This period of time can be 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, depending on the gap that has been identified. And it preps and prepares them for any other opportunity. Let me also quickly say here that, we'll say, permit me to be the devil's advocate. Some organizations or people, and when I say people, I mean maybe HR practitioners or professionals who don't provide feedback. Some will say, oh, if you provide a feedback in good faith to the candidate, you're not sure that they won't come back and, for example, maybe go and sue you, or go to the social media and begin to say, imagine they said, that kind of a thing. So I'm a member of an organization called Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a communication and leadership club. And in Toastmasters, after every speech and after every event, you get a feedback. So for example, like Madam has facilitated a training tonight. If it was a Toastmasters meeting, we will now give her a feedback on her presentation, what she did right, what she could have done differently. So there's a method we use in Toastmasters called sandwich method. Sandwich now, bread, then the stuff inside the bread, then the bread, you get. So we call it CRC. C stands for commend. R stands for recommend. And then C stands for what? Commend. You will notice that we didn't even say criticize. Commend means if, for example, you interview a candidate, for example, maybe 1 hour, you can, ensure you have trained your, what do we call them now, panelists or members of the recruitment team. When I say members of the recruitment, both the HR and people from maybe departments who join the recruitment team, so that when they are providing feedback to candidates. One, they say, oh, are you open to a feedback from us? Now, in this context, it is not automatic. You are giving the candidate the opportunity to say, yes, give us feedback, or no, don't give us feedback. You now have to say, oh, this feedback will in no means affect or determine your chance or outcome in this particular interview process. When you are providing the feedback, please, what did the person do well? Because don't just provide feedback, maybe 3 things, and all the 3 are, so to speak, the weakness. Don't make the person, the candidate, feel useless or as if they don't have any comeliness around them. So try and commend them, what they did right. For example, it can be something like, oh, you dress professionally and appropriately for this interview. You also show that you're interested about this role, because when we ask you, what do you know about our organization, you were able to show that you you did some desk research and so on and so forth. However, your knowledge of this technical area is not as up to par, maybe average or less than average. Your knowledge in this is this, but you also did well in this. Don't forget that we are considering maybe 20, 50 candidates, and we may, if you are successful, we'll take you to our next level. Let me also quickly say this, that there are also instances where candidates pass interview, but we have multiple stages of interviews in some organizations. So maybe the first assessment, for example, can be aptitude test, then the person pass and then comes for stage 1, then they pass again, then go for stage 2 and stage 3, depending on the organizational processes and structure. Even when people pass that stage 1, if you give them feedback, it will help them prepare better for the stage 2. When they pass this stage 2, if you also still give them feedback, it will help them prepare better for stage 3 and maybe the final interview. So we can actually incorporate feedback into the interview process so that we don't just end with, do you have any questions for us? Okay, so it's very important. Let me quickly add this, and I jotted this down while I was listening to Sadatu this evening, that also proactively, how can we provide general feedback? What do I mean? So if on our organizational website, we can have a career page. On that career page, maybe some of your current employees, interview them. Oh, how did you get this job? What was the recruitment process like? How did you prepare for the recruitment? It will help other people who will have an opportunity to interview or explore your organization as an employer in the future. Make it true. Maybe the person, oh, I had to do GMAT, GRE, the aptitude test, I had to prepare for this and that. It's very important. Also on your career page, you could also provide information on what to expect, how to prepare. Do you know that if you are going for an interview and you thought you will meet 1 person, then you meet 6 people in the panel? Do you know that meeting those 6 people without, it can throw you off. So let people know that, oh, this is a panel of 4, or this is a panel of 2, or you will meet 4 people, but you meet them one after the other. Let me also say this, it's also very helpful. You don't want to, so you see on some panelists, they are untrained. Please always train your panelists. And when you are about to start an interview, even if it is 5 minutes or 2 minutes, have like a prep talk to say, this is the purpose of this interview. This is what we are looking for. These are the languages we can use. These are the languages we cannot use. These are the kind of questions you can ask. These are the kind of questions you cannot ask. So that people don't make an interview process like an interrogation, as if somebody is facing SSS or DSS on terrorism charges. These are also very good. Also, just as a suggestion to support what Madam has said, especially for bigger organizations, one of the ways we can also support in providing feedback upfront now is many tertiary institutions today have like career development services, career development centers. Universities like University of Lagos, Modu Bello University, Bio University Kano, they have, so you can even send your HR team to, oh, how do you interview? How do you prepare for assessments? And so on and so forth. It may be very good. Please, let me also quickly add this. It's directly or indirectly related to the subject matter. Because sometimes when people don't do well in interview, it is the organization's fault. What do I mean? You will tell somebody to come for interview at 9 o'clock. You will now invite 10 people. All the 10, you will tell them to come for 9 o'clock. It even happened to me for a head of HR role. They invited 7 of us for interview. They told all of us 10 o'clock. I was now the 7th person. They interviewed me at 4 o'clock. Guess what? And this is not fasting period or anything. By the time I was doing that interview, I was super hungry and cranky. Funny enough, I still passed. But imagine if I didn't do well. I was cranky, maybe I'm on medication. You will now say I didn't do well in the interview process or the recruitment process. But you told me 9, and you didn't tell me that you will keep me waiting for 7, 8 hours. So this also helps. If you can provide refreshments, lunch for candidates, very good. If you can even provide maybe transport subsidy, especially when you're inviting people from out of state or out of town. These are some of the things that that will help them. I just say, let me just say, if share this few words. Already I see hands up. We'll start with Adebayo, then we'll go to Jeffrey. Adebayo, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adeoshu. You always add great value. Sorry, before you call Adeoshu, one very important takeaway for me this evening is these suggestions you have made around having career page, having to maybe interface with other institutions that have career development centers and services, have the HR people also prep themselves. Like you said, you give 10 people the same time. It's such a common thing we do within our space, and it's not a very good thing, honestly speaking. If you have the schedule everybody and give them their own time. I think that's more honorable. It's another takeaway for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adebayo.
Thank you, Dr. Adeoshu, and the speaker, Sadatu Farouk. My name is Debo Adebayo. Dr. Adeoshu already mentioned what I wanted to speak to, but I'll just add flesh to it. He talked about making the feedback process part of the interview process.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to talk more about this. And at this point, I want us to be very, very realistic. As HR practitioners, as managers, as part of organizations trying to recruit, we have a regular to-do, and recruitment is part of what we do. So if you look at the process of feedback on its own, if an organization cannot sit down to decide that we want to prepare or develop a process around this and back it up as part of our tasks, then no organization will be able to provide feedback effectively. Because by the time you invite 10 people for a job, after they've written tests, they've done all sorts, you interview them. Of course, because you have interviewed them, you have enough information about what is guiding your decision. All the panelists will have their remarks, they have their scores and all of that. So you have good enough information to say, okay, you want to provide feedback. But I believe we all know that getting this feedback together, putting them together in form of report for individuals alone will take its own time. And it has its own cost implication on the organization. And that is why I'm saying that if organizations cannot sit down to say, okay, feedback is part of our recruitment process, there won't be provision for it. And if there is no provision for it, even if someone within the organization is trying to do it, it means that person is working out of scope. So for me, organizations will have to look at how to intentionally make feedback provision part of recruitment process. Have a process to it, because it means you take the 10 people. The fact that you are even hiring someone doesn't mean the person performed well in all areas. That person also might still need feedback. So if you are generating a report on 10 people, it will take its own time. It will take a lot of input. That is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Very helpful. Organizations should be intentional about making feedback provision part of the recruitment process. Thank you. So, and that takes me to this structured feedback templates and automated feedback systems. If it becomes an intentional thing, it now behoves on the organization to adopt the one that will be very helpful and maybe cost effective.
But we have two hands up, Jeffrey and
Please
Ijoma.
call them, sir.
Jeffrey, please, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Speaker. Hope I'm audible, please.
Yes, very audible.
Okay, thank you, Speaker, and thanks, Doc, for this wonderful presentation. Okay, just a quick one. Talking about structured feedback. I had an experience recently with Shell. I saw an advertised position in Shell, commercial position. It was not so specific. So I just decided to give it a shot. So I applied. And after the application, I was told to take an assessment, which I took. Eventually, they responded. It was, I think, about within 24 hours. Okay, no, about 3 days later, they sent me a mail, gave me an assessment of my personality on the job in terms of my teams, in terms of team spirit, in terms of collaboration, in terms of punctuality, because and the questions were so structured based on my CV, that's my background in HR and administration. And at the end, when I got that constructive feedback, I was very happy. Some things I never knew about myself, I saw them there. So I was so happy and impressed. So afterwards, 2 days later, they now sent me a message that they are very sorry that my background is more of administration and HR. So what they are looking for is strictly commercial. That's business developers and all that. But nonetheless, that they are going to reserve my CV. If there's any opening based on my own area of specialty, I will be contacted. I was so pleased and I was so encouraged. And one thing I also observed about the process is that, man, when you were presenting, you said something that someone went for an interview and a particular acronym was asked, and the person couldn't got the first letter, couldn't get the other letters, and probably based on that, the candidate probably was disqualified. I didn't really get what happened to the candidate. You didn't say much about that. I want to say something here. As HR professionals, there are areas we need to look at critically. You see, the most important thing is the person's capacity on the job. I've done interview with the United Nations, I've done interview with WHO, and I observe one thing similar about the multinationals is that their interview, the aptitude test is usually structured based on the job. So you interviewing someone and asking a person acronym about the company that has nothing to do with the responsibility on the job, I don't think that makes sense. And judging a candidate based on those acronyms, judging a candidate based on the name of the CMD or the CEO or some board members, like some of us do in some of our organization, and using that as a basis to evaluate the efficiency and the productivity of our potential candidate is a biased system. We need to look past that. I think the most important, you can have someone who doesn't, I think the most important thing is the vision of the organization. A candidate who can tell about the vision and they don't necessarily know the name of the CEO is a better candidate and knows has the capacity to perform the responsibility based on the job description. I think should be considered more than the candidate who has summarized everything about the website and come and download. That's not the capacity. Anybody can have any theoretical knowledge, but only people have the ability to deliver on the job. And I see that's what most of these multinationals, that's what they do. But you see, when we come down home, most of our local industry organizations, they structure interviews, structure aptitude tests. Sometimes I wonder, what is bringing GMAT to an administrative officer position in a local organization? What is bringing mathematics there? Is the person going there to solve mathematics? Is the person going there to solve algebra? Or the person is going there to know how to apply verbal reasoning? In fact, sometimes I don't just understand why we make our recruitment process so strenuous and so stressful that at the end we get the wrong candidate and we let go of the best candidates. So I think that's one area we really need to look at. Assess people based on the demands of the job, not based on the overall knowledge of the organization. That's my point and contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeffrey. Mr. Adeosun, Dr. Adeosun.
I'm with you, ma'am.
Okay, so all well understood and taken. But I just want to give a clarification. As much as you are more concerned around the capability of the person, I think it's even important that you should have a vague understanding. You don't have to be detailed. Have a vague understanding at the least of what that organization stands for. The list of it, because even the United Nations and stuff you're talking about, you need to understand the philosophy of their business. You know it before you got there. You should know. Anyway, thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. Jeffrey. Any other hand up?
Yes, we have Madam Ijoma.
Okay, Madam Ijoma Otobo.
Good evening, Madam Sadatu. Good evening, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Dr. Adeosun, and everyone on this call. So I would like to speak to the area where when you started, you said for candidates that feedback are being given to, some companies go as far as even linking them to counselors and improving them and ensuring when they go for other interview, they do better. So what I want to really clarify is this. If a company links or set up a counseling program for candidates that didn't pass the different stages of the interview, will it not be leading them on or giving them the impression that they might be considered, knowing that the role has been closed out on?
Okay. Would you want me to respond, Dr. Adeosun?
Yes, please. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, this feedback we're looking at is after an interview stage where the candidate is unsuccessful. It's not prior. And even where you have different levels of interview and the person after the first stage is engaged and giving a feedback, it's to further reinforce for that person that you could do better going forward because there's another stage in front. But where you don't have another stage, it has to now be after the whole process of interview that this person gets the feedback. So at any of the points, you are not leading anybody on per se. You're just helping the person for future engagements or future opportunity to say, these are where you did not do well. Like someone spoke earlier to say, he went for an interview and the feedback was given and that reinforced his confidence to go back and give a shot again, and he was successful. So that is the benefit of this feedback we're looking at. Does that answer your concern?
Yes, thank you, my
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So any other storytelling, any other question, comment? All right, in the absence of none, what are we supposed to do? We're saying here, call to action, that by implementing this HR mentorship program, focusing on constructive feedback, organizations can actually enrich their candidate experience, strengthen their employer brand, and also contribute to meaningful professional development because, of course, a chart has been given to someone and you have refocused the person's mind to some specific areas. And that this approach will benefit not only candidates, but also foster culture of continuous improvement across the organization. As you're giving this feedback, it also helps the mentors to be properly trained to handle that recruitment process aspect. So we're calling all of us to please commit to this transcending traditional interview process. We can also look at the suggestion from Mr. Jeffrey and prioritize mentorship and constructive feedback while we cultivate a more inclusive and supportive recruitment landscape. That will benefit all stakeholders, the candidates, the organization, and the practitioners. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity, and thank you for your time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I would just like to find out if there's anybody who has any question or quick comment around this subject matter? We may be able to take maybe 2 or 3 very quickly. Anyone? I'm aware that we've spoken already, we've contributed, and we appreciate that. Is there any other question or comment?
Let me just check the chat room if there are questions here.
If you raise your hands, we'll unmute you so that you can make your contributions, your comments, or your questions, or maybe you have some ideas you want to suggest that can help HR practitioners implement this idea. Okay. All right. So I don't see any hands. I don't see any hands. Just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, this webinar has been extremely insightful. I appreciate the thought process that I even went to the topic, because in my mind, I was like, this is novel and this is also timely. What we like to do, we end our webinars, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to unmute and say thank you to Madam Sadatu Farouk. Let her hear our voice.
Thank you, Madam Sadatu.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Very much. This is the second time I'm having
Very
this.
much, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
And I
Thank
wish
you,
you the best
everyone. Thank you.